Maybe going live. Oh, there we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Podcast of Glory, an Age of Sigmar podcast. Today, once again, we have a guest host with us, and we have with us James Howze, who is probably the main TO, I think it would be fair to say, of the Phoenix metro area. There are a couple others who fill in occasionally, but James does most. He's the most proactive in keeping us gaming. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing good. Doing real good. Real excited to be here.
Cool. Yeah,
Nice.
we're gonna pimp your game, your major later on in the show, but we will. How long have you been playing Age of Sigmar there, James?
So I started, like right before second edition, I think is when it was. So
you played first?
I did play a little bit of first.
Yeah.
Were you one of the bitter fantasy players?
I was not. I didn't play any fantasy. I was actually I played War Machines before I jumped into Sigmar because the War Machines community kind of died out.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
Fair enough.
Very nice. Yeah, we started literally. Mike and I started with the second edition starter box. You know, he won the Rochambeau to get the Night Haunt, which he then promptly sold off to a friend of ours because he didn't really like him, I don't think. And I got stuck with Stormcast, but I actually love Stormcast now. I like that they're not like your tippy top of the top tier army, but they've got a lot of play because they've got a lot of models you can play a lot of different ways. You can kind of fit your own style. But yeah, so. And speaking of, let's jump right into the news. Stormcast Eternals and Orc War Clans finally are getting their battle tomes. So we found out this week that they will go up for pre-order tomorrow, Saturday the 11th. And no word on here that this was going to be unusual, so I think we can expect to get the books on the 18th. I think they've always said if they were going to be longer, if it was going to be a longer pre-order period, like when what was it that took 2 weeks?
Dominion took.
Yeah, Dominion had that 2 week period where you could order. It's going to be a 2 week period pre-order. Like, why? Because it's going to take us a while to get them all. So, anyways, it sounds like we're going to get them as well as a couple of miniatures for each, but only the first ones they announced, really. So we're going to have 2 waves.
Well, let's go down the list. Let's take a look at what's coming out tomorrow, right? So obviously, Stormcast, and there's we got to point out there's a 75 minimum or 700 copies of a special edition tome. I don't know how much more that's going to be, but it's got gold leaf on the edge, it's got a soft cover, and it's got a bookmark.
I think that's probably one of my least favorite collector's edition tomes that I've seen from them.
Yeah.
I really think that they could have done a lot better with it.
Hey, they got rid of they say new artwork, but really they just removed the red. It's the same artwork. But literally that's one of the highlights. Oh, with new artwork. I mean, well, it's without red. Okay. Yeah, for an army book, I like the special editions for like the rule book, but for an army book, I'm like, battle tome, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's only gonna be good for a year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
So obviously we're getting War Scroll cards with the teeny markers that I hate. I never use those things. They're so small. And I've played people who do play them. I'm like, what is that thing that's sitting next to your guy?
Yeah, what does that say right there? I can't read that. Is that something important? Yeah. But then we also have the 2 miniatures, the very first preview models for it.
That dude is gonna be awesome. We are going to talk about the War Scrolls. Yeah, the Night Judicator. We're going to talk about all the War Scrolls after this.
Yeah, that's just going to show you what's coming out.
Yeah,
but they're also re-releasing the Sacrosanct.
Yeah,
which is the first time you can get these outside of the starter set.
What's funny is I forgot that you couldn't get those outside of the starter set because I never really needed more than one.
Right.
The Lord Arcanum on a Griff Charger. But people may want to stock up on those because now Griff Chargers teleport. So you might want to have more than one so you can teleport around.
Although if you're looking for a discount on this, sadly, this is a made-to-order model, so you got to order it directly from GW.
Yeah. That's a bummer. All right, what else we got?
We got the Chariot.
What was it?
Hopefully, they're much better than the Chaos version, which is horrendous.
We'll talk about the stats on this one. It actually is. It is better than the Chaos one,
but not by much.
Now, depending on the points, will determine whether or not this is worth it. Because
correct, yes.
Stat-wise, it's not bad, but if it's too expensive, you're like, what are you wasting these points for? But all right, but let's get to the true stuff right here. The important thing, the Auric War Clans book.
Yes,
and the special edition
looks so much better. Like,
it
just
does.
Look at that collector's edition compared to the Stormcast. I mean, it's amazing.
It gets rid of that awful red. And then, of course, the War Scroll cards. But let's get to the meat of it here. We're going to look at this guy's stats here.
Yeah.
But I was going to own this regardless of what it does or how many points it costs because, look, I mean, it's an Auric riding a troll. That's, I don't know. And when we found out this thing has the potential to pump out 40 wounds, I mean, unlikely, but it has a potential there.
Right.
And then, of course, the Ballista, the Beast Killer, or the Beast, or the Snagga, what do they call this thing? All these names.
Any shooting is very welcomed inside of the
Killbow
Orc tones.
Killbow, or
Beast
Skewer Killbow. Yeah. Killbow. This thing is. We saw the stats of this thing. This is also awesome.
Yeah, depending on points.
Yeah.
I hate things that have one shot.
I hate things that have one shot too.
I really hate.
I'm ordering 2 tomorrow. And we also got some dice, and these aren't bad. All right, so we got Stormcast Eternal dice and Auric dice.
I'm gonna get both the Stormcast Eternal and the Order dice. I like them. I think they're cool. I think I'm gonna.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting 2 as well, like the Auric one and the because they're good match.
Maybe
right?
the Death. I like purple, so I might get the Death ones too to go. For when we get a new Bone Reaper book and I can play my Bone Reapers again.
Yep.
I'm like a buyer on everything that isn't Order here.
Yeah. Yes. I'm with you there. And then, of course, the White Dwarf and everything, but we're Blood Bowl stuff. But, I mean, the main focus here, they got a lot of good sets of dice. Obviously, Yeah,
let's switch over to the War Scrolls for those Oryx. And
the White Dwarf is important to note that it's going to have the new Chaos rules in it for Slaves to Darkness. So that might be a good buy for a lot of Chaos players.
Yeah, Slaves to Darkness.
So is it going to do the same thing? Give them new grand strategies and all that stuff?
They're talking like a big rework on a lot of their abilities as well because they went from re-rolling a lot of saves to +1, which has really hurt them competitively.
Yeah.
Although we'll also talk about the fact that they're one of the top armies right now. Of course, that's because of Archaon, but
all the top armies are have Archaon in it. You want to talk about they need one of these treatments. We thought obviously they needed it for the Sons of Bahamut, which we got, which was awesome. But they need some Cities of Sigmar need some love with their free guild, just because
they also are.
They got nerfed big time in 3rd edition.
Stacking, they're about stacking pluses, and
they were all about stacking. They're all about stacking pluses, and that's no longer a thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, Doug, I'll let you talk about.
Oh, you want to do the Stormcast first?
Yeah, go right ahead. Let's see here. Look at it. First off, the model's pretty cool. At first, I saw the Chariot. I'm like, eh.
The model with the spear is way better than the model with the bow.
Yes.
Yes. Both ways. It looks cooler, and the bow is underwhelming. Yeah. It's only got 2 shots. 3s and 3s, okay. -1, 1 damage. I mean, that's whatever. But the spear also only gets 2 attacks, but it's Ren 2 damage. So way cooler.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to charge these guys in to get the -1 to be hit from the Celestial Blaze ability and to do the impact hits. So
it does ogre impact hits.
Yeah, it does ogre ogre, which makes sense for a war machine, you know, like a chariot. I'm not upset about that. So, but the attack profiles, when you add in the dude with the axe, guy with the spear, and then the beaks and talons, or beaks and claws for the grip
Once again, the
chargers,
mounts are going to be the hero.
you get a
stat
lot.
profile.
I mean, that's 11 attacks with, you know, more than half of them, 8 of them at Ren 2. So it could theoretically do some work, but it's an individual model that's not a hero, that wants by its nature to operate by itself and get out front and charge, you know, whereas, you know, I think a Stormcast army that's not dropping in is going to want to be sitting still on an objective. So not sure what role this guy is supposed to play. We will see. A 12-inch move is nice, although
How many points is too much for this, Doug?
I would say.
What do you think, James?
I'm thinking 140.
140. Yeah.
Yeah.
140 is
That's exactly
140 is too much. 140.
140.
I'm a buyer at like 110.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely play. If it's less than that, I would definitely play it. But I think we're going to see it's probably the 130-40 range. And I'm with
the border.
Yeah, I'm with Doug. I don't see where this guy fits in the army. Like, you have some really great cav inside of Stormcast. And you have some really great shooting outside of this guy, and it looks like he's trying to double dip and not really doing anything great.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, if he comes in at 130, then he's 2 more wounds, a 1 better save, and obviously moves better than Sequitors. But Sequitors are going to put out more damage. They're going to be more resilient.
I'll tell you why I'm not a buyer on this. Is the Celestial Blaze ability, right? If it was whatever unit got hit, it was a -1, was just straight across the board, -1 to hit, it would be a great support vehicle to come in and support, you know, multiple things attacking. But it's only against the chariot itself, right? The unit only has a -1 to hit the chariot. So that, to me, I'm like, all right, it screams that it's out there on its own. And like you said, I don't think it's.
And -1's not as strong as it used to be. Like, you can just give a +1 on anything. If you need to kill that, a +1 is going to be super easy to get.
Yeah.
Right. And then that only lasts the turn you charge. So if you don't wipe out what you charge, then it doesn't help you. So, and you're vulnerable to a counter charge. Just this idea of something that's supposed to be out there operating on its own, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
we got a preview of like the Driven by Vengeance ability, though.
Yeah, the Celestial Vindicators Driven by Vengeance. Yeah, where you pick a friendly unit and they 6s explode. Which this guy's got a lot of attacks, so he might get a couple of exploding hits. But again, yeah, I'm not really. This is one of those war machines. I think James is right. If it were 100, 110, then yeah, maybe a couple of these operating on a flank might be valuable.
Yeah.
But when you can just drop stuff from, I think where you're going to see this played is in the Storm Keep side, where you don't have people dropping from the heavens. So if you wanted to be able to team up with, cities, and you want maybe, I'm going to run around with some Pistoliers or some,
Outriders.
What are the other Outriders?
Yeah.
I've got 2 chariots and some Pistoliers running around on a flank, threatening your sides and going, I'm going to get in your backfield. Now you got to figure out what you're going to do about these guys.
Yeah.
And you use the Pistoliers to shield them from getting charged, so they'll always get the charge. And then 2 of these guys hitting something could be pretty potent.
Unit of Outriders is only 100 points, and it puts out way more attacks. But
so I'm not necessarily a buyer on this, but this next dude, the Knight Judicator, I am all in on. This guy looks amazing. His Terminus Great Bow, it's only 2 attacks, but it's 30 inches. It's Ren 3 damage, wounding on 2s. It's super easy to get a +1 to hit, like James said. So 2s and 2s when you need him to be. He's gonna be rocking. He's got that once per game ability to do the gaze of Sigmar, where you're hitting everybody within 6 inches.
Yeah.
I don't like the 4+ for D3 mortal wounds, but if you can hit, like, turn 1 when a bunch of their army is, crowded together, and you can hit 4, 5, maybe 6 units with this, then yeah, maybe that gaze is good. On a 4-up, you're going to hit 2 or 3 of them, get those, but otherwise, you might as well just shoot. With Ren 3 and 3 damage, you might as well just shoot.
Might as well just shoot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't know what the Griffhounds do yet. Right?
The cool thing is the Griffhounds are a separent unit.
Right.
And that means these guys will have that warning ability that they previewed for us.
Yeah.
And I think, does it say whether they have to be set up as a single unit? Set up the Griffhound unit wholly. Yeah, the two of them are a separate unit. But you could set them up anywhere within 3 inches of this unit, more than 9 inches from enemies. But that means these guys can be around to give him the warning shout. So when somebody deep strikes close to him, it's like, oh, take 2 Ren 3 shots as you drop in for reserves.
This seems to be a trend with GW lately. They pick these heroes, these really solid, low wound heroes, and they give them a summon. We saw that with Radakar in Soulblight Gravelords. Yeah. And I think it's a great addition, and I think it adds some great flavor to the heroes. And this guy's already, I'm already a buyer on this guy with just the shots. And then you give me some extra models for screening. I mean, that's just fantastic.
Yeah. Depending on his points, I'm putting this guy looks like an included in my Cities of Sigmar army.
Oh yeah.
Because I run a shooty. It's all handgunners and artillery and that. And I'm like, I want a sniper
this
in
guy
there.
Is
30-inch sniper.
So good. He is almost, I would consider giving him Praetors to keep him on the board. There you go. Here's some bodyguards to keep you shooting the entire game. Because, man, get him shooting people that come in from reserves, just picking off important heroes with that Ren 3. This guy's got it all. I'm loving this dude. This is a definite include. And notice, this is something interesting. I'm curious to see what this means. This is the first time they've used the Knight keyword for Stormcast. So I'm wondering if there are going to be some Stormcast abilities that key off of the Knight and Lord keywords. It might be a limitation, like only Lords can have certain command traits and Knights can have other command traits. It could be, something like that. Or there could be different Storm hosts are like, hey, we like the young guys, the Knight heroes get this bonus or whatever.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what those, because they've been trained. They got rid of Human and Celestial. Both of those are gone from keywords. So
they're no longer human.
They are not human. Well, it never made sense that they were human anyways.
Yeah. All right. Let's get on to the good stuff here.
Dude, that dude is.
This guy is.
Once again, the hero is amazing.
Yeah. All right. 12 move. 5 move, 12 wounds. 4+ save. This thing. The only thing I think the goad should have a 2-inch range, but that's just me nitpicking.
Oh, yeah.
5 attacks though, 3s, 2 damage each. But the Ironbound clubs, 4 attacks, 3s, -2, 3 damage. The Breaker Harness, you can do D3 mortal wounds to it, but for every one you cause, it gets 2 more attacks with the Ironbound clubs, right? So at max, it's got a damage output maximum of 40 potential. Anything that can drop a Gargant and has the potential to drop a Gargant is good in my book. I mean, come on. And it's a troll. It regenerates. So, again, not like a ton of special abilities, but it's got what it needs to do what it needs to do.
I do wish they really needed to change trolls. They need to regenerate on more than a 4+. It should have been a 3+.
It should have been a 3+. I agree.
Trolls are not powerful enough that a 4+, or that improving that would be a massive bump to them.
Yeah.
especially the non-hero trolls, they kind of suck. So giving trolls a big bump, Troggoth wide would have been good. I also don't like the 5-inch move.
Or make it a monsters.
But,
Once again, you notice down here, it's not a monster.
Not a monster. Interesting.
Yeah. So
he is a hero, though.
He's a hero, but not a monster. Look at this thing. This is not a monster. I want to point that out.
But with the super sneaky,
you
could have this guy charging round 1.
And once again, I want to point out 12 wounds, no deteriorating stats.
Yeah, that is cool. That's a good. I like that. Yeah,
above 10.
Same with that. Same with the. I didn't even click to me the chariot.
Yeah,
12 wounds doesn't degrade.
Doesn't degrade.
Yeah, that's nice.
Super sneaky though, right? So with this ability, you can set up in the first battle round before determining who's gone first. You can pick one unit to set up within 9 inches, right? So again, a little dangerous if you don't get the first turn. You got something hanging out there.
You have to build into this because this is a command trait, and I don't particularly like command traits that are once per game.
Yeah,
that's not super cool. But if you build into it, like you give this guy the Amulet of Destiny, you're like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put everything in the battalion that lets the single drop battalion.
Yeah,
I'm going to set this guy up right in front of your army. I'm going to go in. I'm going to goad him. I'm going by, his finest hour, turn 1. I'm charging you turn 1 and goading him.
And goading him. Yeah.
It's just, and then
drop something big
into you.
Yeah.
And put a big old dent in your army. That could be fun.
This guy here. So I'm kind of out. So in Cruel Boys, I think he's got a place. I think he's a great model to be a throwaway piece, a piece that's going to put pressure. I do worry about the 5-inch move because he's going to have a difficult time applying that pressure. Outside of that, with the prevalence of the Maw Crusher, I have a hard time seeing, unless this guy's static or pointed well below what a Maw Crusher is, taking him over one of them. He does have some good damage output and he doesn't degrade, but the mobility you get out of a Maw Crusher combined with the killing power, I think it's going to be tough to balance. But inside of Cruel Boys, I definitely would be a buyer for this guy.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the Cruel Boys 6-up, his 3 damage or 2 damage weapon becomes mortal wounds. That makes him a little more hitty. And if you keep him with the rest of your army, you could have your mage handing him a potion every turn. Now it's on 5s and 6s. So I goad him, give him a crap ton of attacks that on 5s and 6s, that 3 damage just goes straight through.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be fun.
Some poison.
It is disappointing he's not a monster.
It is.
Because it would be nice for the Cruel Boys to have monsters to do the battle tactics with monsters, but
I think if he was a monster,
probably going to be the only one.
I think that would point him out of,
Yeah, you got to be careful about.
Yeah.
It is a fine line where you're going, oh, this guy's super cool, and then you come out and he's like 300 points, and you're like, no, he's not that cool.
Now let's talk about a must-have in here.
Mike is way higher on this than I am.
I love shooting, so.
Well, here's the thing is, I went and looked at these 2 articles and went, oh, the 2 heroes are awesome, and the 2 war machines are meh.
See, I'm like, I agree. I don't like the one-shot war machines like that, but I gotta say, I love shooting, and I'm probably gonna go run with the shooting Cruel Boys list. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the book yet, but it's saying all the right things to me here. Again,
if the hasty shot were even just 2 attacks, I would be a little more forgiving of this.
Yeah, but it's 1 shot each, right? Let's see, the 4's a hit if you move, 2 if you didn't, right? -2 rend is nice, and then the skewered ability, it does 2 damage plus you get to roll a die for every wound of your target, and on every 5+, it adds another one, right? Up to a maximum of 12.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting this at like a Mega Gargant, and let's be honest, you're going to build a list to defeat a Mega Gargant in 3rd edition. That's what you're looking at. You're 12 is you're looking at getting 12 wounds pretty much when you're rolling that many dice, right? That's pretty easy to get that 12. So something that can put 12 wounds
against
out,
the Mega Gargant, yeah.
Against the Mega Gargant, yeah, with that many dice.
I really wish it were 3s to hit and 2s to wound on this, because then you could, easily get it to 2s and 2s.
Yeah.
That 3 to wound on a one-shot thing really kind of makes me, that means like every third shot I take with it, I'm missing.
I think
I'm failing to wound.
Yeah. The aim shot is nice here. I'm just trying to see why I would take that over the hasty shot, because you're always going to want that 24-inch range, right?
Yeah.
Well, the aim shot is the 24-inch range.
Yeah. It was like the aim shot is 24-inch range. It's 1 attack, 2 to hit, 3 to wound. Why would you ever go with the hasty shot?
That's if you moved. That's only if you
move, or there's an enemy within 3 inches, you have to use the hasty.
If there's an enemy within 3 inches, or you move, you have to take the hasty shot.
So you definitely need to, if you take this, you need to keep some hobgrots standing in front of it to keep enemies 3 feet away.
It's the same thing with the man skewer bolt boys, the ones that are the smaller ones. They have the same thing. If they move, they have to do a hasty shot.
Although you want the hasty shot.
Well, although you want with them, because it's an extra shot, and with the poison, that's just more chances, 6s or 5s, depending if the poison,
The big decider here is going to be the point value.
Yeah.
If this is 100 points, then maybe. If it's 150, no.
Yeah.
It's you price it out at that point.
I don't know. I think you're looking at a 40%. You're looking at a 60% chance to hit and wound with this.
Yeah.
So if you take that over the course of 5 rounds, and the first round, nothing's within range. So then you've got 4 rounds. So maybe it shoots twice and hits something.
Yeah. This is for taking out big things, is what it is.
If you take the yellow boy, whatever the yellers guys,
you get only the best.
Will be in range. They'll have a 27-inch range, and the size of these boards, something is almost always within 20 inches of 20 to 22 inches of you.
So this helps it quite a bit. If you take the big yellows, only the best adds 3 inches of the range and let you reroll once. Right? So then your hit number,
Yeah, it is the wounds that kill you. You're only wounding 66% of the time.
Yep.
So like he was saying, in a 5-round game, you're probably only wounding 3 of those 3 rounds of the game.
Yeah.
But if you can do 12,
that could make a difference. Yeah.
But if you're not playing Mega Gargants, you might be rolling against something that's only got 12 wounds or 14 wounds or something like that. Or you may be up against hordes of zombies with vampire heroes who only have 7 wounds. You're like, oh crap.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Yeah, so it'll be the point cost tomorrow morning. I got to figure out what the point cost is before I pre-order. We'll determine whether I'm getting 1 or 2 of these things.
It's do you take this, or do you just take more of the bolt?
The bolt boys. Yeah, the bolt man skewer bolt boys. Yep.
The man skewer bolt boys, because
they also
freaking awesome.
They also tease another a spell here, Nasty Hex, right? Which takes away ward saves.
I'm all freaking. That's Space Marine freaking.
Here's the thing. I did not when I heard Cruel Boys and I saw this what it was going to be. No way did I think this was going to be a magically powerful army, right? But when you look at some of the spells they previewed, some of the magic manipulation that they have, especially when you get like the big guy and
it is only 12 inches, so you got to be careful.
Yeah,
getting to there, but man, it could be if you can keep something that's got a powerful ward save locked up for a turn and then go bam, turn that off.
Yeah.
I think this is really good, because what you're going to look to do with this, with its 12-inch range, is you're going to sit your little 5-wound caster behind, your anvil. And what they're going to do is they're going to send something big at you, like a Maw Crusher or a Mega Gargant with the amulet. Or there's something like frequently I see a lot of zombie lords with the amulet as well on the dragon, vampire lords and zombie dragon.
Yeah.
And so getting rid of that 5-up, I think really is big when when that thing's in your face turn 1 because it's ran across the board with like pinions or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus, look at these grot models.
There is no denying all of these, even the chariot with the spear is a cool model. And it's something you'd like to build and paint because it looks freaking cool. But,
right.
The points will determine whether or not it's worth actually fielding these guys.
James, actually, I got to ask you, because we and Doug had this conversation. We had like the Tale of Two Orc Armies, right? And we're comparing like the 40K Orc release with the Cruel Boys, right? So basically 2 new Orc armies, and they couldn't look more different, right? I mean, they're almost, orcs have always been kind of cartoonish, but the 40K release looks really cartoonish this time around, right? Compared to, the Age of Sigmar Cruel Boys, which, I don't know. Look, it's like night and day.
They definitely have a more realistic vibe to them, I think, than when you take a look at the 40K lineup. But I think the 40K lineup historically has always had that very funny kind of feel to them and look. So
yeah,
I think if you were to run something more realistic, that most of the people who run that army would probably be a little upset because they have this certain theme going with that.
Yeah. And I like the orcs in 40K. Don't get me wrong. I always like that aspect of them.
It was the shark that really bothered us.
The shark guy, the shark with like the steam pipes coming to the side of the squig, and it was
the shark squig was just.
Or the one guy who had like the targeting squig on his shoulder. I'm like, how does that work? But it's like it was like almost a step too far, right? They always rode that line. But like for me, this latest release seemed like it just slightly over. And I know the same amount of work these look better, in my opinion, as far as sculpt wise goes, right? And I know it took just so much time to make the other ones, right? Because you're going for that aesthetic, but it just seems like it's like, oh, these look better. But anyway.
All right. Do you have a picture of Bastion Carthalos? If you don't, it's not that big a deal, but we did also get, in addition to the guys who are coming out tomorrow, we got a leak of Bastion Carthalos War Scroll. And I wanted to kind of go over that real quick. He's going to have 8 wounds, which is not unusual for Stormcast. Their big Lord heroes often have 6 or 7 wounds already, so he's only got 1 more. And I believe that's also what Yndrasta had, was 8 wounds. So he's got a 3-up save with a 4-up ward save. So he's continuing that trend and I really hope this is a herald of what the Celestin Prime getting a ward save, because that was his big weakness was, somebody I'm going to drop right in my opponent's face after he spent turns powering up. I've kept this 300-point model off the board for 2 turns, so that he's super powerful, and he charges in, and blam, and then he's killed in 1 turn because he's just got a regular armor save. So hopefully this will be a look at things to come for the Celestin Prime.
Yeah.
There's that guy. Super cool model. His main weapon there is, I forget what the name of the hammer is, but it has a 2-inch range, 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, with Ren 2 and 4 damage. They told us before. Some people are disappointed about the Ren 2. But I think going Ren 3 would have been a little bit of overkill for him. There are not a lot of weapons with Ren 3. And they did upgrade some of their shooting. So I think if you just started popping off tons and tons of Ren 3, people would get upset about that. So, and you've already got this hammer does more damage than Galmaraz. So you also want to make it rend just as much as Galmaraz. Then why do you have Galmaraz anymore?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, come on, Galmaraz should be the hammer. But
now he does have a few powers as well, and some interesting ones. He's got Thundering, which is pick a unit and roll. And I don't know what the range on this. You pick a unit and roll a number of d6 equal to the wounds characteristics of that unit. For each 6, it takes 1 mortal wound. I'm not sure if this is a hero phase ability or a shooting phase ability, but it's kind of like the Celestin Prime comet, calling a comet down, just not nearly as deadly, I don't think. It will be deadly against something like a Mega Gargant, where you're rolling 35 dice looking for 6s, but even against something like Catacross or Archeon, where you're rolling 20 dice, you're still only probably going to get 3 mortal wounds, maybe 4. So it's not that big a deal. The Comet calling Scepter does more because it's hitting a bunch of units doing D3 to him. So that's a cool ability. He's got the Voice of Thunder, which is awesome. He can use a command on a unit anywhere on the battlefield without paying a command point, which is ridiculous, but ridiculously awesome. And when you think, okay, yeah, this guy's like the supreme commander of the Hammers of Sigmar. Okay, cool. I like that. They've been doing that with a lot of units where it's like, oh, this guy can give out a command for free to, people who are in his radius. And this guy's just like, my radius is the board.
Yeah, everywhere.
That's pretty cool.
How many points do you think this guy's going to be?
Well, we're not done. He's got 2 more.
Oh, he's still got more. Oh, man.
Yeah. He's got his mantle, which I'm not sure what it's called. If he slays a model in the turn, he heals all damage done to him. He goes back up to full health. You do need to get him into combat to get that ability, but he becomes a super vampire at that point because he heals everything. He could have taken 7 wounds and he's like, back to full. It's not quite as cool as the way the twins heal from the Lumineth, but it's still a cool little, like, hey, you got to kill this guy in one go. Or with shooting and not letting him get into combat to heal himself. And then the last thing he has is at the start of the game, he can, and I'm not sure, it's got more rules. You can't read it all, whether it's like before or after you determine who the first player is. I'm assuming it's got to be after, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. He can redeploy a D3 units. I guess even if it was, like before the first turn, determine who goes first, you've still seen how your enemy's deployed, and you can decide, I need to switch some units around because they did this I wasn't expecting. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, what do you guys think?
So I'm trying to think how this guy's going to be pointed, and what I think when I look at his war scroll, I see what he can do, what he's got on his table. I'm like, the worst thing he has is 8 wounds, but he has a 3-up, he has a 4-up, and so I'm like, what do I compare him to? And I'm like, is he like a Vermin Lord? And I'm like, no, I think he's better than a Vermin Lord. But then we get up into the 400 something point models, and I start thinking of those, and I'm like, is he better than a Great Unclean One? Yeah, it's pretty close. So I'm thinking, like, point wise, I'd put him like at 380 is what I'm thinking is what we'll see him around at. Because your top end Vermin Lord is like 345, and then your Great Unclean Ones are like 400, and I'd say he's like right around there.
Now, aren't Vermin Lords wizards?
Yeah, and
this guy is not a wizard.
Correct.
So you got that, and his thundering ability is not a big damage output thing.
Right.
His big thing is that Voice of Thunder, his 4 damage mace, and the fact that he heals back to full.
Yeah.
If he gets into combat.
I'm still thinking 300.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
If he's much more, here's the thing is, I understand where you're coming from, but if he's more than 300 points, I wouldn't field him. I would just take a Lord Imperatant and deal with the fact that I'm giving my free commands out to people who are near me, and I'm dropping guys within 7 inches. Give up. Yeah, this guy, his other abilities aren't enough to push me up to. And I agree with you. He probably is going to be what I would consider too expensive.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, he does a ton of damage, but he's only got 4 attacks. And I don't really want the guy who's giving out commands to everybody around the board and can chip people to be in combat every round. Unless you've got his body, you gave him Praetors and then march him up there and go, yeah, okay, I'm going to get on the front lines. I'm going to have a unit of 4, 3 or 6 Praetors. And then, yeah, if you get through me, then I'm going to heal it.
You know the worst part about this guy is I can't decide whether, I like him without a helmet or with. That's a...
I don't know. That's a pretty glorious helmet beard.
Yeah. Anytime you have a bearded helmet, that's pretty special. So,
but I have a feeling, as cool as this guy's abilities are, I think he's going to be priced out of being in a competitive list. He's just going to take away too many Annihilators, and you want just a bunch of units of Annihilators dropping on the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think he'll take away too many of them if he's priced that high.
I feel like he is a squad of Annihilators in of himself. He's got a great save. He's got a ward save. You can give him a 2-up. You can give him a 2-up ignoring one. He can heal. Yeah. He can heal fully. If he kills something, if he doesn't heal fully, you can heal him again. There's just I think there's a lot of punch and a lot of staying power with this model. What did it tell us what his movement was by chance?
No. Well, yeah, probably. I don't have the war scroll. Yeah. Oh, maybe I do. Hang on.
I'd be curious if it's like
it's probably 5. It's probably 5, like all the other Stormcasts.
That's like the hardest thing then, because I think you're going to want to start him on the table.
No, he's got 6.
He's got 6-inch move. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's a good move. I really think he's a good piece to back up a squad.
Stop him. Yeah, you want to start him on the table, I think.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, I just think he's going to be very pricey. I think he's going to be very close to 400 points.
And when he gets to that price, you have to ask yourself, is he worth what basically taking a Lord Imperator and Yndrasta is?
Yeah.
Is that a worthwhile thing? And I'm like, no, Yndrasta is way better. As long as she stays at 300 points, she's going to be way better if he's that expensive.
Yeah.
But we will find out tomorrow. Because we can expect that all of the YouTubers are going to be dropping their review of the books tomorrow. A lot of them have already actually put out reminders.
Yeah.
For you to watch them go over the books. So
isn't
we're going
this
to
the
find
guy
out
that,
a lot.
Isn't this the guy that gets dispatched in that Dominion trailer?
No.
That's
that guy's a Lord Imperator.
Okay.
He's the guy who comes in the Dominion box.
I was going to say, I wasn't impressed with his...
This guy is essentially they're playing him off like he's the rebooted Gilliman of the Hammers of Sigmar.
I definitely get that feel.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm gonna real quick, just quick fire off, and then we'll let you guys weigh in there. Some of what I saw was the highlights of the FAQ of the FAQ.
Yeah.
So they did
FAQ point 2. 2.0.
Yeah, they took away the stacking wards. They've made it worse, in my opinion. Because now anything that's a roll to mitigate wounds, including bodyguards, is a ward save. So if you are a necromancer standing next to zombies, or you're a Slann standing next to Temple Guard, you have to decide, am I going to use my ward save, or am I going to shift the wounds off to those dudes? And if I shift the wounds off to them, that's the only roll against those wounds. They just take it, even if they're within a ward as well. So that's going to be an interesting... I think bodyguard stock has gone down.
But now Cruel Boys can hex all that stuff now.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. Yeah. That's a good point. You could come up against a unit with a hero with a Praetor unit and go, I can't do that anymore. I hex that. You can't do that anymore. That's huge. That's a big deal. Or you can make the Slann can't push off wounds to his bodyguards anymore. That's a pretty big deal. What are your thoughts, James?
It's I think there was like a week in there after the FAQ where everybody was reevaluating their lists for reward stacking. They're like, how are we going to make this happen in the new meta? Because this is now the thing. And now it's gone. And I think we're still in the same place we were before the FAQ, where the biggest thing you're going to want to do is save stack and figure out ways to get the best saves. And we're still going to see high rend and mortal wounds holding the biggest payout on the battlefield. So this was going to help. I think this was, I liked having the extra ward saves. And the reason is the meta is so strong with mortal wound shooting right now that that's the only thing that's saving you from being, obliterated turn 1 and 2 by a shooting army. Yeah. And so GW took the one thing that was the saving grace and they took it away and made it even worse. So
yeah,
I don't know if they've looked recently at what armies are doing well, but
yeah, they just put out, and I was going to talk about it, but we're kind of running long anyways. We haven't even got into our main discussion, so I kind of skipped it. But they put out a meta watch list and showed the armies that are top of the game. And actually, if you go by armies that are getting 4 or more wins, Sons of Bahamut are at the top of the list.
Yep. And I called that a long time ago, right at the release of Third. I knew that Sons were going to be the gatekeeper. They don't typically podium first.
They've only got one 5-0 finish.
Yep.
But they've got 17 4+ finishes.
Yeah.
4+ win finishes. So they're big.
You better come with a plan to beat Mega Gargants.
You got to deal with a Mega Gargant.
Yeah.
Yep. And the thing is, like, another thing with Sons is they're an easy buy-in for a new player, and they're easy to learn. So the new players love them. They're great models. They buy them. They're easy to play, easy to learn into the game. And so then every new player's got a Sons army as well.
Yeah. Because you don't have to be a strong tactician to play Sons.
Nope.
Get up and sit on an objective.
Oh, yeah. Another FAQ they did was on piling in. And this is a good change, in my opinion. If you have models from a unit that are equidistant from 2 units, you get to choose which way to pile in. So they can't lock you in place by putting one model equidistant from another model, in your unit and going, you can't pile in because you're close to both of us. As long as it's just that one model keeping you, you can go, nope, we're going after this guy.
Yeah,
which I think is good. It never made sense that you couldn't pile away and into what your guys were actually fighting. It's like, I got to keep an eye on this guy behind me. It's like,
yeah.
Well, the real, I'm kind of torn on this, because what you end up happening is you'll have like 2 units hit one model, or like say you have 2 big base models hit one base model, and what happens is you fight with one, then they pile in 3 inches, and then they move around the model that they're going to be attacking. So now they're outside of the 3 inches of the model that was either charged them or didn't, and has to try. And sometimes there's terrain in the way. So you end up not getting all your attacks in because they just piled away from your unit.
Yeah, you're going to have to be careful when you pick your guys. In a situation like James is saying, you're going to want to make sure one of those guys, the one you want to attack with first, is actually further away than the one that they're going to be able to pile into. So he'll get to attack. Then they can only pile into the one who still hasn't attacked, and they're still going to be able to get their attacks because they're closer. So you're going to have to be careful with that. Yeah, but that's a good point. It's, if you're not paying attention, they can take advantage. Your opponent can take advantage of you. So you're going to want to be careful. Just make sure the unit you want to strike with first is the one that's actually further away. So it's not the one they can pile towards. So. All right. Once again, they have flip-flopped on Sylvaneth Wildwoods and basically have gone back to what it was with the Battle Tome, where it is on the individual war scrolls. It's an allegiance ability, and then the people who can use it, it's on their war scrolls. So it's kind of set back to what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I wish GW flip-flops on Sylvaneth Wildwoods like every other week, so probably go to something else next week. But
hopefully this will stick until they get a new book. Which probably not due for in the first half. I wouldn't think. They're
wouldn't
kind of
see
a
it.
newer.
Not anytime soon.
Chronomatic cogs got fixed. In my opinion, this is a good change. Only one wizard in range can cast an extra spell, not all wizards. And I used this. I played a Zaytrek Lumineth list and went, sweet. I get to cast a million spells. Good luck.
Yeah, I think you definitely saw some abuse out of Zinch with this as well. Just
Zinch
the
just
summoning of
racking up
horrors.
fate points.
Yeah, before horrors got changed, just summoning horrors every single turn, you could get 30 wounds on the table. Is just that's more than most armies can chew through.
Yeah. That was it. Could have been bad. And then Umbral Spell Portal. This is just fixing a you were an idiot if you did this kind of wording. Anyways, now they specify that if you use the spell portal to cast a spell, you measure from one side or the other, not both. I guess there were people out there who were like, rules is written. If I use an AoE spell, it goes out of both. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm all.
You should be banned from events.
That's what it says.
But all right, real quick, I want to plug a couple of events that are coming up for AOS. There's a Otto's September Age of Sigmar event in Bakersfield, California tomorrow. It's a 3-round 1,500 point game, and I hope this doesn't become more common, but I'm afraid it might because of how long it takes to play a game of AOS 3. They might start doing smaller games, but we'll see. And then there's a doubles event at Comic Quest AOS doubles in Lake Forest, California. And then we will continue to plug. We're going to the SoCal Open. You going, James? SoCal Open?
I'm really considering it. I haven't quite determined yet if I'm going or not, but I think I'm leaning towards yes right now.
If you want to sleep on an air mattress, we've got a suite, and you can come stay with us.
I do have an air mattress I could take.
See, there you go.
Because our friend Shane was going to go, and it's looking more and more like he's not going to be able to go. So we've got space one way or the
other. Even if he is,
even if it's got a living room and a room, so we got plenty of space.
Okay,
yeah. Big spoon. always big spoon.
And then we've got the competing events, Wasteland Weekend in Vegas on the November 6th and 7th, and the tournament you are running here on the 6th and 7th. You want to spill a little about that?
Yeah, so this is going to be a GT, really trying to get the local community here kind of fired back into the tournament scene. Yeah. I've had a couple of RTTs that got kicked off that were pretty successful. But the 40K event coordinator for that event reached out to me and wanted to know if I wanted to do a GT to coincide because he already had the space. So I said, sure, let's see if we can get 20 people. We've already got some terrain and everything. It's just try to get the people. And yeah, it should be a good time. I'm going to start working on pricing for it here very shortly. It's getting some start collecting boxes together and seeing if any stores want to pitch in, but I think it'll be a good time.
Cool. How many people are signed up so far?
I think I have 6 or 7 signed up, but I have a bunch of people that are verbal commitments. Usually those ones kind of that's us. They kind of trickle in. I have a lot of the crew from Tucson also hasn't signed up yet, so I know I've got at least another 4 or 5 coming from there. You as well, and Mike. So I think we're comfortably at like 14 on the verbals. Just need to find those last 6 or 7 people to come in.
To get it to actually be a grand tournament, to officially cross that 20 members.
Yep.
So yeah, get out there, sign up. Even if you're in SoCal and you just can't make it up to Vegas, come join us here in Phoenix. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and here we are at 54 minutes. And let's dive into our main. Now, to be fair, I don't think our main topic will necessarily take a long time because there is a limited number of these guys, but we're going to talk about god monsters.
They're good but expensive. There we go.
What they're good, or what their impact is, because I think they're not only good, they are dominating right now.
Yeah.
For example, the top meta lists right now for actually going 5-0, not just getting the most 4-1 wins, going 5-0, Archeon is the top of the pile. You just can't beat him right now. Well, I mean, people beat
any
him.
hero monster combination like that's going to be good, and especially when you got one that's already naturally that good, right? And then you just added more stuff for him, you know?
Yeah. I think his stock is going to drop a little bit though with the changes to his 6s. But I still think he's super strong because the Tzeentch list that runs him just guarantees too much. Destiny dice just guarantee too much. You take the dice out of the game and you're not going to see that loss rate that you would expect.
Yeah, I think and you don't see him played a lot not in Tzeentch. Tzeentch Archeon is the big one. There's some people who play Khorne Archeon. I've heard of a couple, but I haven't actually seen any stats on it of people who play him in Heat Knights. Well, not in Heat Knights. Slaves to Darkness with the Mark of Slaanesh, because I think you get extra damage or you exploding hits or something, So some people who want to go lean into that. But with Tzeentch, he's rerolling saves. He can stack so many saves. He can guarantee charges. If you're also taking Kairos, you can make sure opponents can't get to him or that he can get to what he needs to. There's just, like James said, there's just so much guaranteed happening there. And you're talking to somebody who's got a 4-up to ignore mortal wounds, so it gives you something to do with those fate dice that are sitting in the 4 or 5 area. That's not necessarily what you normally want your fate dice to do, but hey, you got them. Make some ward saves. So he can be pain. I think he is the real top of the mountain for the god monsters. I mean, Nagash can do some crazy stuff.
Nagash came back. Nagash was on top, then was down, and now he's come back around. Anything that could drop 7 arcane bolt. The way they fixed it, the way they changed arcane bolt, the fact that he could drop 7 of them on you, that you can't do anything about. That's
Now, luckily, most people don't because they have other stuff they want, but they're still doing 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I charge you and do 5d3 mortal wounds, and then I fight you.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big. Now, and the reason I put Archeon on the top of the chart is because in a one-on-one between those two, Archeon comes out 9 times out of 10. He comes out on top of that.
Yeah.
But Nagash is big, and I don't want to call them problems. They're just things you have to think of. I think Archeon's a problem, personally. I don't think Nagash is as big a problem, but he is even bigger. And I guess we should take a minute to what defines a god monster.
Well, there's specific. They're ones that they're 500 or more points, right?
Generally, yeah.
Yeah, there's something that you have to have a 2,000 point list to take. So anything that you have to have a 2,000 point list to take, I would say, and is, in the lore, obviously, what we got, Kragnos, we got Nagash.
Sometimes they are gods.
Yeah. Archon.
I think for me, the way that I define what's a god monster, so there's the models that are your centerpiece that you can smash with, and that there's Be'lakor, there's Great Unclean Ones. Those are cool. Those are centerpieces. You can have them. But then I would say there's these army keystones that just, you put them on the table, and this defines the play style of a Timmy. If you've ever heard that before, I'm going to push this across the table, and it looks cool, and it looks great, and it's going to smash, and it's a ton of points, but I love the model. And I think that's what god monsters really are the epitome of, is tons of, do something cool, look great doing it. And I think GW bought into that mindset because they know that these models sell because they look fantastic. And so they're like, let's make them fantastic because they look fantastic. And a lot of the player base is a Timmy player base. They want to push across big models and smash stuff. So
hence the popularity of Sons of Bahamut.
Exactly.
And I would actually include Sons of Bahamut in the God Monsters, all the Mega Gargants, because I think the big thing for me that defines a God Monster is they somehow break the rules of the game. They do something that is outside of the ordinary of what the rules will normally let you do. For example, Teclis just automatically casts his spells. He's never going to miscast. He just, I cast on this really high level.
Yeah. Marathi doesn't die.
Marathi doesn't die. It can only take three, can only take three at a time. Archeon, just for a while, it was he reroll sixes. But he is one of the few people who has super good armor, a 4-up ward save, and that 6-up bounces back at you. And then he piles on a bunch of other rules like, oh yeah, my mount heals me and can breathe on you, and
I think one of the biggest offenders out of him that really kind of defines his brokenness inside of Tzeentch is the fact that you can insta-slay with his Slayer of Kings. And so
if you have 3 6s sitting over there, you're like, clear, I'm going to insta-slay you.
Yeah, and insta-slaying Nagash, for instance, who has no savers. So you just lost 950 points of your army to 2 fate dice. And that's I would say is the definition of MPE to me. Like negative play experience. You didn't get to play the game. Archeon got to pick 2 fate dice and kill your army.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so there are a lot of, Croak has his weird wounds mechanic. The Sons of Bahamut can't be slain like that. They just take some more wounds.
Sons of Bahamut are like, your Kingslayer sword.
So here's the interesting is, do you put Gotrek is he a god monster? Well, he's not a monster. So does he fall into that god tier of guys?
So the thing with Gotrek, he's kind of in a weird place. His model looks great, and the thing is, like, I don't know the rest of the lineup, like the god monsters that we say are great. Right. I know GW will always take care of them. They're always going to be great war scrolls. When I look at Gotrek, I'm like, he's great in the lore.
One that falls out of that.
Well, for the most part,
we'll talk about crack notes in a minute.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're going to try, but for him, he's a lore model, and I don't know if he's always going to be the powerhouse that he is. Like, the rules right now really favor him, but if you go back to 2.0, did you really ever see him on the table? No. I didn't see him on the table.
No.
And here's the thing: is Gotrek, as cool as he is and as awesome as he can be, the top of the meta armies don't really fear him too much.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're going to shoot him off the table with a lot of shots.
Yeah.
And
or magic him off, or just throw 10 cores in front of him, or whatever,
He's just so slow.
What about Illyriel? Now that she's lore-wise a god tier monster, and she just got a rules buff in the last.
And they all have a shtick. Her shtick is tons and tons of healing.
Yeah. True.
She's one of the most fragile of the god monsters, but if you don't manage to kill her, she might be back at full health next turn.
Yeah. And she, like, if any Sylvaneth player gets into Sylvaneth because that model almost. Like, the rules are like, some of the rest of the lineup is like, Drycha is kind of okay, but they look at that beautiful model on that beetle, and I almost want to buy it just because I love that model so much.
Yeah.
All of the god monsters I would like to own at some point. They all look cool. In fact, the least cool of them, in my opinion, is Archeon. he looks a little dated. He needs an update.
Dude, I love that model.
Well,
I would say I think he's better than Kragnos.
No,
I mean,
Kragnos looks freaking cool. His War Scroll isn't great, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't know,
but he looks freaking cool.
He should be a dragon ogre.
He should be. I do agree with that.
Instead
He
of
should be a freaking
or
dragon
centaur.
ogre. That
Yeah.
He's not the leader of the Centaurs, even though he looks like a Centaur.
Yeah.
He could totally have been the leader of the dragon ogres, but no, they wanted to make this just weird. I'm something totally different, even though I look like these two other things, just not quite.
Yeah.
It was a really weird. He still looks cool, in my opinion.
He does. I mean, they all look cool. Yes.
There are two, in my opinion, I don't know if James and I may disagree on this point. I used to think that shooting was out of control, but there are enough stacking saves. There's enough going on, and I've played enough. I've played with 20, even 30 Sentinels, and against most armies, well, against the armies that I have played, and I've played a pretty decent variety, they don't just wipe you off the table. I guess if I tried to play, 60 Sentinels, which I've never done because I actually don't think that's a meta winning list, in my opinion. I think there are too many lists that can deal with 60 Sentinels by just killing them because they're easy to kill. Ignore the wardens that are sitting in front of them and kill them. But anyways, he struggles against people who can deal mortal wounds from something other than spells. Yeah, if you're dealing your mortal wounds through spells, he's fine. He's going to laugh at you. But if you deal mortal wounds some other way, he's in trouble.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I have never played against your Lumineth, but you didn't seem to be running the most egregious combos I've seen with Sentinels, where it's the 30 Sentinels, and then you have the caster that teleports next to the unit, the model that you want, and then cast the re-rolling hits on that unit. And then the Sentinels get their spell off so that they're 5s and 6s. So then your 5s and 6s mortal wounds, re-rolling everything for 5s and 6s. And you're looking at 20 something mortal wounds on the first shot. And that almost kills everything. Like any big model, any big piece, anything that you really need to kill, you kill turn one, and then you play the game.
You don't do that normally, Doug? You only do that against me? Is that what the?
Well, no, I played with a bunch of them. I tried the 30 Sentinels, and I'm going back to it. To be honest, I'm going back to it because I've tried a bunch of different, iterations. I'm not doing the two units of 20. I think you lose your. You lose your synergy. And I was for a while doing 2 units of 20 wardens. I don't think that's necessary anymore. 1 unit of 20 is fine to kind of hold the middle. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some, although I may go back to 2 units of 20 because I'm waffling between taking 2 units of 20 wardens or taking a unit of 10 wardens and the Lord Regent to give the Power of Hish out so that you have more spells to go. So, I'm playing around with it. We'll see what I end up taking to SoCal, but there will be 30 Sentinels.
There will be 30 Sentinels in SoCal.
Yeah.
Because 20 does not insta-delete things. Even with the rolling, it doesn't insta-delete stuff.
Yeah. 30, I think 30 is really that 30 pumped up 30 is really set because you can +1 to hit too if you want. And the thing is, you look at that, and then you look at Marathi's bow snakes firing 3 times. They did get nerfed because there are only 15 of them, but 15 still shooting that. That's 45
30.
shot.
Oh, do they get 3 shots each or 2 shots each?
They'll be shooting 3 times. So, no, they shoot.
No, they get 2 shots each, but they're going to get to shoot in their hero phase and the
shooting phase.
The shooting phase.
So
yeah, it's long.
And their mortal wounds are, I think, 6s.
Yes,
but then,
theirs are only on 6s.
And then there's Seraphon as well. And so you could teleport Skinks and a Priest and have them shoot a ton of mortal wounds also. And that's where the most egregious play in shooting is. And those armies see top spots because of it.
They do. But in my opinion, those things are absolutely necessary because of these god monsters. Because those armies really have no other way to deal with an Archaon. You know, if Archaon comes at a Lumineth army with no sentinels to pick, plink him down, they're in trouble. They've got nothing, even 30 wardens aren't going to stand very long against him.
Right. I don't think that I agree that there needs to be that type of play, but I think there's a balancing act that we're not seeing here with 30 sentinels re-rolling for 5s and 6s. That is past the line. I think he should survive 2 rounds of shooting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, remember, only half of those are actually going to wound him.
Right. But like if I look at Kragnos,
so the question is,
or something else.
Oh yeah, Kragnos is going down.
Kragnos is dead. Alariel's going to die to that also.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring out this conversation on the god monsters, especially Archaon, is does Archaon's presence and his current power level create the situation where you have to have power units like that to counter him? And then units that don't have somebody like, or armies that don't have somebody like Archaon, then they just suffer the, from an army that's been built to counter him. They're like, oh, well, I built this to be able to kill a Mega Gargant in 1 round or Archaon in 2 rounds, but everybody else, it just decimates them. It's kind of puts you in a weird position where you've got to play towards those.
Like we said before, you have to build to take down a Mega Gargant.
Yep.
Right.
And if you are aiming for a top spot, you have to assume you're going to run into an Archaon or a Nagash or something like that,
or
and
Mega
Gargants. Have to be able to deal with it.
And I think the hardest thing right now in list building, and why I think we've seen some very big diversity, is because of the prevalence of not only god monsters but Soulblight Gravelords. There's been a lot of players picking up Soulblight Gravelords. There's a lot of Legions and Nagash players waiting for that book. And so what you have 2 ends of the spectrum that make it very difficult right now in the meta, because you have tons of zombies or skeletons, and those lists that take care of tons of zombies and skeletons do not usually do well against god monsters. And then the same goes in reverse. If you got a ton of if you're killing god monsters, or you're planning to kill a mega every turn with that single target with lots of wounds, now you got a bunch of zombies or skeletons. That's a huge horde that's regenerating, that's getting resummoned back. You just don't have the tools to keep those bodies off of objectives. So it makes it very difficult for, I think, your middle pack players to see a lot of top table play right now.
Yeah, and I think that's why you see there are 6 armies that are kind of dominating the top. And it's going to be tough for anybody else to break into it because they don't have the god monster or the crazy shooting or even the crazy, like hordes that are going to be able to come back forever to get up there, to be able to compete with those guys. So let's just looking at GW's stuff. And I know if you want to check out the Honest Wargamer, they also did a breakdown of the top of the meta. But realistically, you've got Sons of Bahamut, Disciples of Tzeentch, Seraphon, Lumineth Realm Lords, Daughters of Cain, and Soulblight Gravelords, who all go 11 of the tournaments that have been had in 3rd edition so far that have had 5 or more games. Those armies have had 11 or more 4+ wins. And it's a pretty sharp drop off from there.
Yeah.
Slaves to Darkness have only had 7, though they've had 3 5-0s. Of those 7 that are 4+ wins, 3 of them were 5-0 wins. But from that point, you go down to 5 or fewer. And so, there's a real, like, the middle of the pack is really good against the middle of the pack. They're really competitive with each other. And some of them can be competitive with some of the upper tier because they're built to counter how that upper tier army works. But they have trouble breaking into that upper tier because they can't counter both types. They can't take down big things and hordes.
And hordes,
They can only
yeah.
do one or the other.
Yeah, I've seen that. I play primarily Skaven, and I've seen that a lot in when I play tournaments. And when I play a lot of my local games. You know, I do fairly well against Daughters of Cain. I struggle against Sons of Bahamut if I don't get turn priority. Because if I don't get the turns to do the shooting before I get double turned or something like that,
yeah,
I lose my ability to take them out in the order that I need to secure the game. And then the question is, do you have enough to take out Archeon? I think I do, enough shooting, but you never know until
you've got the better way of dealing with Archeon, which is just you can't move.
Right.
Yeah. Tar pit him.
Well, he just uses the you've got a spell that makes him like he can't fly, and then warp lightning him to keep him from
But he's got a 4-up against being affected by my spells, so I usually have to double up on him, and usually one of them gets through and stops him from moving, but it's still tough. It's a lot of board control, and he's a monster that doesn't like to be board controlled with that army. So there's some things you can do to take care of him, but I struggle against Lumineth super hard because I need my magic to go off, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So that's another one of one way that Techless breaks the game is I just auto deny that once around. I auto deny that. It's pretty big, and there's a lot. There's a lot that the God monsters do that's just like I automatically do this thing, which is not something that most people can do. Most people, it's just I've got to roll dice and hope things go the way. And even when I've carefully maneuvered stuff, I can roll that double 1 on the charge, and then suck. I fail. So that is one of the interesting thing about the God monsters is their ability to just kind of break the rules of the game. Not usually super egregiously, but just they have a shtick of some sort, which is like, I can't be killed. I can't, I always succeed on this or whatever it is. So any other, who haven't we hit God monster wise? I know we've kind of talked around Kragnos, but Kragnos is in a weird position. He can do a lot of damage, but against the wrong army, he could die super quick. Lumineth should take him off the table real quick. I've seen Stormcast, 10 evocators take him off the table before he can do anything.
Yeah, the thing with him that makes him so tough is he needs to charge, and he needs to not be getting shot or mortal wounded. And that's a lot to ask right now in this current meta, because you can just have a screen. People still use screens. Screen off where he needs to go. He can't fly. So you can screen him off. He can't take he can't negate mortal wounds. A lot of mortal wounds are in the meta because of the huge saves. And he's coming in with a huge save, but he doesn't bring anything else without the charge. And you don't need anything else to negate the charge. Whatever you bring on the table, you can screen with. And that negates one of his biggest strengths.
And he's got 18 wounds, I think.
I'm not sure. I don't think.
Remember, guys, he's getting a new war scroll in the book tomorrow. Yeah, he's got his. They specifically said he's going to be in the Auric War Clans book. So
all right, that'll be interesting to see if he changes any, because he needs a ward save, even if it's just a 6-up ward. He needs a ward save.
I'd say you drop his 2+. I say you drop his 2+, give him a 3+, and then give him like a 5-up. I think that would make him so much better.
Because he's 700 and some odd points right now, right?
760.
It's like, why would you pay those extra points? Because I have seen him primarily in a Mega Gargant list, in a Sons of Bahamut. And I'm like, why would I get another Mega Gargant when you could take a Mega Gargant and a Little Gargant instead of him? Matt, it's the Old Town Throwdown. Matt took Kragnos. He did
cool
well.
Looking. That's why you take him.
He was in the top 10. I think he ended up in 6th or 7th place, so he did well with him. But I just, against certain matchups, it just seems like he's an auto lose. You're going to automatically lose 760 points or whatever. Is that what you said? 760?
Yeah.
Yep.
You're going to lose 760 points probably on turn 1 or 2.
I think they reduced him. He might be 740 now, but he's
Yeah.
still a lot.
They reduced him, but I'm betting he gets updated in the book.
Yeah.
Comes out
One would
tomorrow.
hope.
I mean, next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun to see what everything. Because honestly, I'm gonna finish out the season playing Lumineth, but I am excited to go back to Stormcast.
Yeah,
I love the new models. They look.
Do you think
super
those two
cool.
brother dragons will be god tier monsters, or the one anyway?
I think the one will be. I don't know about god tier like the 600, 500 plus. He is going to be between 400 and 500. I'm hoping.
I would like to see them take the Star Drake and move them up to like the god tier, because I think that model has been terrible for so long, and he is supposed to be the centerpiece of that army, and he's never been that.
Yeah, honestly, if I had my way, the Celestin Prime would be their god tier model. That he would be bumped up to 500 points, and he would do a heck of a lot more than he does. You wouldn't have to keep him off the table for 2 turns. He would just come with 6 or 7 attacks with Galmaraz. And I would pay 500 points for all of his abilities if he could start table on turn 1 on the table. He had 7 attacks with Galmaraz, and he had a ward save, even if it was only a 5-up. I would pay 500 points for him. He is super good, except for the fact that you have to keep him off the table for 2 turns.
Yeah.
He's. But
he could be over it by the time he gets to the table.
The thing is, like, he's always been the best model in other people's armies besides Stormcast.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, he was before Seraphon got their book in 2, he was so good in that army because they had plenty of bodies, they had plenty of support, and they could wait. They could wait till turn 3, and then he comes in and just clears the house.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you're playing, well, yeah, I don't know. I think you got a
castled up Cities of Sigmar army, right? You got a castled up Cities of Sigmar army, and you wait and then drop him in 3. You know,
what's left?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I would like to see. We'll see tomorrow what we get. I'm very excited to see what's going on, because like I said, I would like to go back to Stormcast at some point, because I think they're a really fun army to play. They're fun because they're not perceived as a broken army by anybody. I don't think there are broken armies out there, to be perfectly honest. There are really good armies, but I have, we've talked about how awesome Sentinels are and how crazy good they are, but they've only got 2 5-0 finishes.
Yeah.
In three. They've got 12 4 plus, but that's 5 short of what Sons of Bahamut have.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
My counter to that, though, I really think that those armies are still beatable always because of the dice. You can still roll terrible.
Yeah.
And an army will lose.
Yep.
But you take that out of the equation with the Tzeentch Archeon list. Like, you control the dice.
True. Yep.
And
the
thing is, like, that player, the right player controlling the dice and knows how to play the game, takes all the chance out. And that's where it's not a game anymore. It's he's going to tell you what's going to happen. You don't ever get those ones to charge, and he's going to do exactly what he wants to do when he wants to do it. And there's the risk of his strategy failing is almost 0. And that really, I think, is a detriment to the game.
Yeah. I am curious. Everyone is assuming, we've been told that we are getting a Chaos book this year. And everyone is assuming it's going to be Nurgle, because Nurgle's super old right now. They are the oldest, but they've done a lot to retool them and make them much better.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they are the perfect book, or the perfect army for Chaos right now. They're not overpowered like Tzeentch. They're not way underpowered like Hedonites. And I think Khorne came up a little in this edition, but not enough. There's
a 50-50 chance I'm taking Mazoko.
Yeah, I really hope
Nurgle is strong.
Yeah,
I think.
they are really strong right now.
I think it'll be a Beast of Chaos book.
That would be nice. I would love it, but
one that doesn't suck.
yeah, I would like to be able to take beasts that didn't suck. But
I have a huge army of Beast of Chaos in my closet as well.
I have a bunch that I've just never finished putting together and rebasing and stuff from fantasy. I was just like, nah, they've sucked for so long. Why worry about it?
Even in an
but I
edition
honestly hope it's Tzeentch that
favors monsters.
Yeah,
you know, the army with the most monsters sucks still.
Because Tzeentch getting a new book would be great. The thing is, like,
retool fate dice.
Yeah,
fate dice are bad.
They're definitely a negative play experience. And horrors, when they made the change to horrors, yes, it fixed the brokenness of horrors, but it also really hurt Legion of the First Prince as a side product, because the allegiance ability in Legion of the First Prince was you bring back slain models and you no longer slay horrors.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm a huge, and I have the shirt. I'm a Legion's player. I play that's I love that army, but I haven't been able to play them because I didn't know what horrors were going to do, and that was such a cornerstone to the play style of the army. And when GW made those changes, I don't think they were really thinking, okay, what other armies are going to be affected? They were like, let's fix rally, let's fix the fold reality problem that we're dealing with right now.
But they also made the unit essentially immune to battle shock until they're down to the brimstones. So that's pretty cool. 50 wounds that are for the first 30 wounds are immune to battle shock is pretty potent.
Yeah, but see, like in Legions, you don't get to bring them in 10s. You only get to bring them in 5. So you're only getting 25 wounds.
Yeah.
And that really
those
hurts.
Are free, right? You're just summoning.
Yeah, they're free. You gotta roll a 10 on 3 dice, which is statistically average. Yeah. So you get your summons off. You may lose one a game. You only get like 4 turns of summoning, but you used to have 4 turns of summoning 5 pink horrors, and then with Be'lakor as your general, every turn in both players' turns in the battle shock phase, you could bring back 1 horror on a 4-up. So you were talking bringing back horrors in each battle shock phase, and it would just clog up with these 5 horrors any place you wanted them to be. And they were fantastic. But I didn't have fold reality to bring back models. I didn't have I had rally, in 3 for a very short period of time, but most of the time my horrors were not sitting back and shooting. They were on objectives getting hit by stuff. So I didn't get to use rally anyways. And so I just needed my one pink back at each battle shock phase to really do it for that army.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Did we miss any god monsters that we wanted to focus on?
Not the Fist of Gork. Gortrek. Yes.
Gortrek.
Yeah, he's one of those that, like, he's technically not a god, but I think he qualifies as a god monster because he's pretty crazy powerful. Yeah.
Him, Marathi is another one that we kind of talked on. Karakos, I would kind of put him pretty close to that.
Who's that?
The leader of the Bone Reapers.
Oh, Katakros. Yeah,
Katakros.
Yeah. He's not a monster, but he is a god tier-ish character.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. I don't think Skaven has anything like that. The closest thing is Thanquil, and he's not really that level.
No, because he if you use my definition, he doesn't break the rules. He's just really good.
Same as the greater demons, right? They don't.
They don't really break the rules. Yeah, they're not quite that. You could look at the Glotkin, but the Glotkin's not even that great.
No, Scarbrand, like the named ones, you wish they were at that god tier. But if you're like, okay, Karos, Fate Weaver definitely looks like with what he can does, it breaks the game for sure. But
Right.
Scarbrand doesn't break the game. Rodriguez doesn't break the game.
Yeah.
And Shalaxi doesn't break the game either. So
Yeah. Even the new twins that are supposed to be like the essence of Slanesh,
yeah,
all that.
no.
So they don't. I don't think they qualify for that god tier.
Maybe the Corn Dragon. He probably does.
Yeah, I suppose we could probably name him in there. What is he now? 1,200 points.
Yeah, 1,200 points. Your whole army in one model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, cool. I think that takes it for the going through the god monsters, and really what we were aiming for was what's their impact on the game and how do I mean, I think we could say, because the guys at the top of the list are those people who have the god tier monsters. The only people with god tier monsters who are not really at the top of their game
Sylvaneth.
is the Auric War Clans and the Sylvaneth.
I would say Cadron Overlords have the potential to see top podium that don't have a god tier.
Yeah,
that would be like my quintessential.
Oh yeah, I was saying that the Auric War Clans we're saying have a god tier in Gortrek, and the Sylvaneth have Alariel.
Yeah,
and they are kind of down there.
Right.
They're in the middle of the pack, so they're underperforming for having a god tier monster.
Right.
But they also have older god tier monster stats, though.
True. And I don't know how many people who play competitively actually play with Alariel or Gotrek. Gortrek.
Godric.
Whatever. They need to stop.
Gordrak.
I always mix up Catacross and Kragnos too. It's like you guys need to differ your names a little better here.
Yeah.
But anyways, those two armies, like the people who play Iron Jaws, would rather take two of the Maw Crushers than take Gortrek, I think, typically.
Yeah.
Man, he is so good though. Although I think, does he have two different weapons? Or is it the regular guy on
No, he has two different weapons that are really good against heroes.
They both get one extra attack. That's where he's better than the guy on the single guy on one, because that guy only has one attack that gets an extra attack when it goes up.
And also, if you run him in Big Wah, he gets you a guaranteed 6 Wah points every turn in your hero phase, which makes him really strong in Big Wah as a choice for like your single smashing piece.
Yep. And I haven't not seen a lot of Big Wahs played competitively. Most people have been playing Iron Jaws.
Of course, guys, we've got to remember all that could change. Tomorrow with a new book.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We don't know what's happening.
Yeah. But yeah, so far I think people would rather have the pluses to charge for the Iron Jaws than take because it's easy to get a +1 to hit now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh, rather than get +1 to hit and +1 to wound, I'd rather have +1 to charge.
Yeah.
Especially with your boys who have the drum that give them +2 to charge. So now you're +3 with those guys. You're like,
right. And I think really what dropped Big Wah out was how badly Bone Splitters got hit in Big Wah, because what you could do, you could bring 30 Savage Orcs with 60 wounds. You could pump them up to like a 3+ save, and they would be like this unkillable blob that was sitting on objectives. And you don't really have that anymore with them because they can't save stack that high. So
and they can't put that many models on anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So, but like Mike said, we'll see tomorrow. But yeah, we're already at 90 minutes here, so let's go ahead and wrap it up for the day.
Yeah.
And you guys will get to talk about this more next week. I will be out.
Yep.
So it'll be Mike and James talking about the Auric War Clans and their notebook next Friday.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So
the best clan. Look at that guy.
He's been working on that's in his project.
Yeah.
I've barely started painting leather on my 10 extra freaking.
I have half of my it's going to be a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth right here.
Oh, nice.
That I'm getting printed. That's going to be in my Beast of Chaos army.
Very cool. Nice. All right, guys.
All right.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, James, and filling in next week as well. And we will see you all. They'll see you next week.
Yeah. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and you can support us through the links down below.
There you go.
All right, guys.
Cool.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.